March 31, 1923. The age, Melbourne, Australia. A new cult. Recovery of man's lost faculties. From our correspondent, London, 22nd February. A number of men and women who are well known in literary circles in London are taking an active interest in a new cult, which has its headquarters in the forest of Fontainebleau, about 40 miles from Paris. Miss Catherine Mansfield, who was on the way to fame as a writer of short stories of remarkable literary texture, spent the last few weeks of her life as a member of the new cult. Her husband, Mr. Middleton Murray, a well-known literary critic who is editor of the Athenaeum, has been intensely interested in the theories of the new cult and has spent some time at Fontainebleau. Among other students are Mr. Algernon Blackwood, the author, and Mr. A.R. Orridge, who as editor of The New Age was the guide, philosopher, and friend of many young men and women in England who aspire to literary fame. The two men at the head of the new cult are the master M. Gurdjieff and a Russian novelist named Uspensky. Gurdjieff is a man of about 50 years of age and has had an eventful career. He is of Greek origin and spent some years in Russia, Persia, Afghanistan, Baluchistan, and Tibet. It was in the latter country that he discovered a school of thought which harmonized with his own ideas, and he went back to Russia about 15 years ago in order to put his ideas into practice. There, he met Uspensky, a novelist of mystic tendencies who for years had been seeking a bridge between Western rationalism and Eastern mysticism. He found in Gurdjieff a teacher who could solve his problems and, since then, he has been Gurdjieff's devoted disciple. Man, according to Gurdjieff, is threefold: body, mind, and emotion, Mr. Orridge explained to a press interviewer. In most Western peoples, mind is overdeveloped, with a corresponding underdevelopment of the emotional and physical senses. Gurdjieff's first object is the development of the body and the emotions, and from this point of view has been thought out the training of the students and the planning of the settlement. When Mr. Orridge was asked what had made him and other members of the settlement dissatisfied with the normal life they had formerly led, he replied, "There are men in London who are already as clever as it is possible for men to be under ordinary conditions, and who are asking themselves whether this is the ultima thule, whether they have reached the final limits of their evolution. We believe that there is something more, and so we are here. In order to understand our position, it is necessary to distinguish between essence, due to heredity, and the personality which accrues as the result of environment, education, and such causes. Every man is aware of the deficiencies in his underdeveloped essence, but because he cannot realize that everybody else is in like case, he shows a bold front to the world and lives behind his personality, which is not himself at all. At the present time, the West does not sufficiently discern the differences between these two characteristics of men, and makes no effort at all to educate the essence. Hence, in the adult, personality is fully grown, while the essence remains infantile. And it is this disproportion that we think in the first place to correct. We educate essence in the adult and bring it up to the level arrived at already by the personality. When this is achieved, the two can work together, and it is then that actual progress towards attainment of wisdom commences, and the harmoniously developed man takes the place of a one-sided, distorted entity. The interviewer was assured that among the instructors at the settlement at Fontainebleau are men who are proficient in every trade and handicraft, from the simplest to the highest type of work, such as sculpture and painting. Mr. Uspensky, who has been lecturing in London to small select audiences regarding the new theories which are being practiced at Fontainebleau, said in the course of an interview at his home in West Kensington, "Man, we say, is a much more complicated machine than is generally supposed. Therefore, man must learn to know himself a little better. Little by little, he must rediscover those faculties and forces that lie buried in the depths of his nature, and so, by understanding himself, he will at last understand the universe. Gurdjieff and I have reached our present stage of knowledge by long and hard work in many lands. It has been much like what is going on at the present moment in the Valley of the Kings at Luxor. Long ages ago, there existed great civilizations and profound knowledge, traditions of which still exist. What remains of the knowledge has often become petrified, so that it is now mere superstition embodied in apparently unmeaning ritual. As at the tomb of Tutankhamun, mountains of rubbish have to be cleared away before the treasure is revealed. But we now know that the treasure is there. As a first step, it is necessary to realize that man's mind has become dulled. You must improve your instrument. The human faculty of knowing must be enlarged. That is why ordinary science and art have reached a point at which they can go no further. Progress into the regions beyond involves a perfect harmony of mind and body, such as can only be secured by careful training under the right conditions. Hence the Institute in the forest of Fontainebleau, where each action of the body is brought into relation with some desired activity of the mind. The members of the settlement live on simple fare, and most of the men work on the farm, which forms part of the settlement. The work is intended to develop the body because Gurdjieff teaches that great thought put into an unhealthy body becomes corrupt. The settlement consists of two main buildings. In one, which is known as the Priory, the students eat and sleep. The bedrooms are almost bare of furniture, and the meals consist of milk, bread, and soup. The other building is the study house, where Gurdjieff lectures to his students, and where the emotional side of life is developed. The study house is a plain, square building with a fountain in the center, the water being illuminated with colored electric lights, which are constantly changing. The fountain diffuses a delicate perfume, such as attar of roses, the perfume being changed from time to time. Perfumes pervade the interior of the building, which is capable of accommodating about 300 people. On the floor are costly rugs, and around the walls are divans, with here and there an alcove formed with rich tapestries. Soft light comes from hidden electric globes, and the windows are beautiful with Arabic designs. While the master delivers his lectures, the students recline at their ease on the divans. A representative of the London Daily News who visited the study house at night thus describes the scene. Around the walls of the study house, students recline on the divans and watch their fellows, men and women, dancing on the slightly raised stage at one end of the hall. The illuminated fountain threw up a head of glowing water, which fell back with a pleasant murmur into the carved basin, and filled the interior with a faint odor of attar of roses. It is impossible to describe intelligibly the movement of the dancers. They were entirely unlike any Western physical exercises as far as I know them, and differ from what are usually accepted as characteristic of Eastern dance movements, in that they were extremely vigorous. I understand that each series of movements was designed by the master, and that, to the initiate, many of them express symbolically varying phases of thought and emotion. The study house is not yet complete, gorgeous as is the interior. Gurdjieff told me that he was having built a special organ unique in Europe, with the octaves in quarter tones. Much also remains to be done to other parts of the house. Soon the fountain will diffuse a different perfume for every hour, and other fountains are yet to be installed. By his elaborate combination of appeals to the senses, Gurdjieff believes he is providing so many aids to meditation. The senses should be gently distracted, he said, and then the mind itself, untrammeled by the senses, is free to work. Only by such means can it be brought into the way of harmonious development together with the body and with the emotions. It is indispensable to develop new faculties, which cannot be developed by man in himself by the usual methods.